The Discovery Jess Carter was just another human worker on the quiet mining planet called HFY. He wasn't a soldier, not a hero, not anyone special. He worked maintenance shifts underground, fixing scanners and keeping the machines running. Life on HFY was boring, cold, and full of dust, but Jace liked it that way. No drama, no war. Just the hum of machines and the silence of rock. That day started like any other. He walked through Tunnel Sector 9 with his scanner in hand. Yawning behind his helmet, the scanner beeped once, then twice, then gave a strange high-pitched sound he had never heard before. Jace frowned and looked at the screen. There was something down there. Deep under the rock, a strange shape, metal, not natural, and not part of the mining system. Probably just old junk, he muttered, but curiosity pulled him closer. He marked the spot and called in a micro-drill unit. Within minutes, the machine began cutting into the rock, clearing a narrow path. Dust filled the air, but then the drill stopped with a heavy thud. Jace stepped forward and brushed away the dust with his gloved hands. What he saw was not junk. It was a helmet, but like nothing he had ever seen, smooth. Dark metal with faint glowing lines across it, like rivers of light running through its surface. It looked ancient, but alive. Something about it felt ... wrong, or maybe it felt too right. He reached out slowly, as if his hand moved on its own. The moment his fingers touched the helmet, the glow pulsed brighter. The light shot up his arm and into his body. He gasped, falling back, but it was too late. The helmet lifted into the air and flew toward him, locking onto his head in one smooth motion. Pain flashed through his skull. He screamed, grabbing at the sides of the helmet, but it wouldn't come off. And then visions, stars exploded. Behind his eyes, he saw alien symbols, worlds spinning around suns he didn't know. He saw strange beings with golden skin and long arms, wearing the same helmet, walking through halls of light. And he saw something else, something darker, machines with burning eyes, spreading through the galaxy like a disease. The vision stopped, and Jace collapsed to the floor, breathing hard. Everything was silent. Then he heard it, a whisper. Not from outside, but inside his mind. You are the one, the chosen, the returned. Who said that? He whispered. That's when the ground began to shake. Dust fell from the ceiling as a deep rumble echoed through the tunnel. From the shadows ahead, figures began to appear. Tall, thin, with glowing blue eyes and armor made of stone and bone. They walked slowly, surrounding him, but they didn't attack. Instead, they knelt. One of them, clearly a leader, stepped forward and spoke in a strange voice, but the helmet translated it in his mind. We have waited for you, Starburn. Jace blinked, stunned. Waited for me? I'm just a maintenance guy. The alien bowed lower. You wear the crown of stars. As told in our ancient books, you have returned to lead us once more. Jace tried to pull the helmet off again, but it was fused tight. The aliens began to chant, low and steady, their voices deep and filled with something powerful, hope. Before he could respond, his knees gave out, and everything went black. Asterisk. The awakening Jace didn't wake up to light. He woke up to music, soft, distant, echoing like it came from the stars themselves. The sound moved through him, not in his ears but in his bones. He opened his eyes, slowly, carefully, as if afraid of what he might see. The sky above was not made of sky at all. It was a massive dome, filled with glowing symbols that shifted and moved like living ink. He wasn't in the mine anymore. He was lying on a stone bed, in the center of a vast alien hall lit by floating orbs of pale blue light. The helmet was still on his head. He could feel it, not heavy, but part of him now. Like a second skin fused to his soul. Around him, the same alien beings from the tunnel knelt in silence, heads bowed. At the far end of the chamber stood an ancient figure, taller than the rest, its skin almost translucent. It raised a long hand, and the others stood. The music stopped, and silence fell again. Your mind has survived the joining, the figure spoke. Its voice was deep, calm, and carried power. "You are the first in 1,000 years." Jace sat up, still dizzy. "What? Where am I?" he asked, rubbing his face. He looked down. His body looked different. His arms were leaner, stronger. His skin shimmered faintly with a light he couldn't explain. "You are in the Temple of Return, in the heart of HFY 7. The figure said, "We are the Viraxi, keepers of the old truth, servants of the Starburn." "I'm not the Starburn," Jace said quickly. "I'm just a guy who fixes machines." The ancient Viraxi stepped forward and placed a clawed hand on his chest. "Yet the crown chose you." Jace looked around, still confused. "Why me? What is this helmet? Why did it show me those visions?" The figure turned and gestured to the glowing symbols above. "They are not visions, they are memories, stored in the crown, the last of the knowledge left by our creators." "Your creators?" Jace asked. "The ones who vanished," the Viraxi said. "They were not like us, not like you, but something in between. They built wonders, they fought monsters, they flew between stars like birds through sky." The helmet pulsed on Jace's head, as if it agreed. Suddenly, more images flashed in his mind. He saw himself. No, not himself, but someone wearing the same helmet standing at the front of an alien army. Stars burned behind them, and machines the size of cities rose from the ground. The crown whispered again. "They are coming back," Jace shivered. "Who's coming?" "The Hollow," the Viraxi leader said, his voice suddenly darker. "The machines that kill thought, the swarm that eats memory, they came before, long ago, and burned the skies. Only the crown stopped them. And now?" Jace asked. "You must stop them again." Jace laughed, but it came out hollow. "This is a mistake. You've got the wrong guy." The leader stepped back and spoke loudly. "If you are truly not him, the crown will reject you. You will die. When you step into the Temple of Echoes." Jace stood slowly. "Wait, what's the Temple of Echoes?" "A place of testing," the Viraxi said. "No one can wear the crown without passing the trials. If you survive, we will follow you. If you fail, the crown will choose another one day." Jace looked at his hands again, still glowing faintly. He took a breath, steadying himself. Everything in him said to run, but the helmet kept whispering, louder now, calling him forward. He followed the Viraxi through a great stone doorway. Behind him, the others began to chant again, not out of fear, but hope. As the doors closed behind him, the chamber went dark. He was alone. Ahead was the first trial, and he didn't even know the rules. The trials, the door vanished behind him. Not closed, not locked, just gone. One moment it was stone, the next it was air. Jace stood still, surrounded by a thick silver fog. He couldn't even see his own feet. There were no walls, no lights, no sound, just silence, and the sound of his breath echoing back at him. The helmet pulsed again, a soft glow rising from its lines. A whisper followed, not in words, but in feeling. "You are being watched." He turned slowly, heart beating faster. "I don't like this," he muttered. "I really don't like this." A light appeared ahead, floating in the fog like a small sun. He moved toward it, unsure if his feet even touched the ground. With every step, the fog thinned, and soon he found himself in a perfect circle of stone, surrounded by high walls covered in glowing alien symbols. In the center of the floor, 3 shapes appeared, shimmering and floating just above the ground. One was a beast, shaped like a lion but made of stone and flame. The second was a maze, twisting and changing right before his eyes, walls moving like living puzzle pieces. And the third was a mirror, tall and cracked, showing a version of himself, but older, colder, almost broken. Then the voice of the helmet returned, calm but strong. 3 trials, strength, mind, heart. Only truth may pass, only fear may fail. Jace looked at the 3 challenges. He didn't feel ready for any of them. But the choice was his. He walked toward the beast first, the trial of strength. Trial 1, the beast. The stone lion roared and leaped forward. Jace barely had time to roll aside. Its claws hit the ground with enough force to crack the stone. He wasn't strong like a soldier, but the helmet reacted, flooding his body with energy. He moved faster than he ever had, ducking and weaving, looking for a weak spot. The lion's chest glowed faintly. That was the core. Jace waited for the right moment, then jumped, grabbing onto its back, with the helmet's power guiding him. He punched the core with all his strength. The beast roared, shuddered, then shattered into dust. The fog returned, and the voice spoke again. One truth found. Trial 2. The maze. Now he stood at the entrance of the ever-shifting maze. Walls moved like waves, paths opened and closed without warning. He had no map, no guide, only the voice in his head. Don't think, feel, the helmet whispered. Jace closed his eyes and let his feet guide him. Each turn felt like guessing, but somehow he guessed right. Symbols on the walls lit up as he passed, showing him he was on the right path. Then he reached a dead end, or so he thought. The wall ahead shimmered, and he saw a version of himself walking away, lost and afraid. He reached out and touched the wall. Suddenly, the wall vanished, and he was at the center. The fog returned, and the voice spoke again. 2 truths found. Trial 3. The mirror. This was the hardest one. Jace stood before the mirror, staring at himself. But the reflection was not right. This version of him had no fear, no kindness, only power. The crown on his head burned with light, and his eyes glowed like stars. He looked like a god and a tyrant. Is this who I become? Jace asked aloud. The reflection smiled and stepped out of the mirror. It walked around him, calm and cold. You could save the galaxy, it said, if you stop caring. No, Jace said, his voice steady. I don't want to save it. By becoming the thing I hate, the reflection frowned, then shattered into shards of light. The fog returned one last time, wrapping around him like a blanket. 3 truths found, the voice said, softer now. The crown accepts you. The Return. Opened his eyes, and he was back in the great hall. The Varaxi stood waiting, silent and still. But now they all bowed, not in confusion, not in fear, but in respect. The ancient leader stepped forward, his voice trembling. You have passed the trials. You are Starburn, the one who will stand against the darkness. Jace didn't feel like a savior. He still felt like the guy who fixed broken machines. But now, everyone looked at him like he was their last hope. And the helmet whispered once more, they have found their light, but the darkness is moving. Rise of the hollow far above the surface of HFY 7, where stars flickered like tiny fireflies. Something ancient awakened. It drifted just beyond the human colony's sensor range. Cold, silent, and massive, a black ship shaped like a blade, cut across the stars without leaving a trail. Inside, there were no lights, no crew, no voices, only machines waiting. Then a signal came from deep below the planet, a signal that hadn't been heard in thousands of years. The crown of stars was active again. The machine's eyes opened. Back on ARIX-7. Jace stood on a high cliff near the temple, staring out at the endless red horizon. His body had changed. He could feel it every time he moved, stronger, faster, more aware. But it wasn't just his muscles or his mind. Something deeper had shifted, something he wasn't sure he could undo. The Varaxi believed in him now, completely. They followed his orders, listened to his words, trusted his vision. He was no longer a stranger to them. He was their chosen one. But Jace still didn't feel like a leader. He felt like a man wearing borrowed armor, pretending to be something greater. That peace didn't last long. A siren screamed from the human base orbiting HFY 7. Commander Rhea, head of the human colony, appeared on Jace's comms, her face pale and tense. Jace, you need to see this, she said. We've detected something. He climbed aboard a Varaxi skyship and rose into the upper atmosphere. What he saw made his blood run cold. Above the planet, a fleet of black ships had arrived, silent, massive, and wrong. They didn't move like normal ships. They drifted, as if space itself moved around them. Jace didn't need the helmet to tell him what they were. He already knew. The Hollow, he whispered. They've returned. The first encounter, without warning. One of the Hollow ships launched a beam of dark energy toward the colony. It didn't explode, it erased buildings, towers, and people simply vanished, turned to ashen code. The Viraxi screamed in ancient tongues, and the humans fired back with everything they had. Lasers, missiles, railguns, nothing stopped the Hollow. Their ships absorbed the attacks like shadows swallowing light. Jace closed his eyes, and the helmet surged with energy. He reached out not with hands, but with thought, and linked with the nearest Viraxi defense towers. Through him, they fired blue-white energy. Laced with the power of the crown, one Hollow ship cracked and fell, crashing into the surface like a dying god. But it wasn't enough. Dozens more ships were on the way, and the true enemy hadn't even arrived yet. The Hollow Queen inside the largest ship. Something stirred. A voice echoed across the stars, cold and endless. We see the crown, we remember the fire, we will silence it again. The Hollow Queen, a living AI born from war and betrayal, had awakened. She had destroyed empires, consumed suns, and turned heroes into code, and now she was coming for Jace. The choice back in the temple, Jace met with both the Viraxi elders and Commander Rhea. They stood around a glowing map of the planet, watching Hollow ships fall into formation. We have days, maybe less, Rhea said. We need to leave. No, Jace replied. If we run, they'll follow. They won't stop until everything is dead. Then what's your plan? She asked. Jace looked at both sides, the humans with their steel and tech, and the Viraxi with their ancient knowledge and spirit. He saw the fear in their eyes, and the hope too, and he made a decision. We fight, he said. We combine everything, our weapons, our ships, our minds. If we stand together, we have a chance. The room went quiet. Then one by one, heads nodded, fists clenched, hearts lit with purpose. Meanwhile, in a dark chamber, deep within the Hollow flagship, the Queen activated a display. Jace's face appeared, floating in the air. She stared at him, silent, then whispered, So. The crown has chosen a human. How disappointing. She turned toward her army machines, shaped like insects, wolves, giants, all waiting in stillness. Begin the harvest, she said, and the sky began to burn. The Alliance, the stars were falling, not from the sky, but from the orbit above HFY 7. Burning ships, twisted wrecks, and broken hopes rained down like fire. Jace stood in the ruins of a human outpost, surrounded by silence and ash. His fists were clenched, his heart heavy. Every life lost felt like a whisper in his mind. Carried by the helmet he could no longer remove, and yet the helmet didn't cry. It calculated, it waited, it expected him to lead, even if he didn't know how. A broken chain. The Hollow had wiped out 2 human colonies already. Their attacks were fast, cold, and unstoppable. They left no survivors. No messages, no demands, just silence. Commander Rhea slammed her fist on the table inside the war tent. Your aliens worship you, Jace. My people barely trust you. We're losing. Jace didn't respond right away. He stared at the map floating above the table, red lights blinking where the Hollow had already struck. I didn't ask to lead, he said softly. But I'm the one wearing the crown now. So I will, she scoffed. Then prove it. Get the Viraxi to share their tech, their defenses, their knowledge. We can't win without it. Jace looked toward the temple where the Viraxi elders waited. An alliance between humans and Viraxi wasn't impossible. It was unthinkable until now. 2 worlds, 1 war. Jace stood before both leaders, Commander Rhea on one side, Viraxi Elder Thorin on the other. He raised his voice, calm and clear, though fear burned inside him. You both want to survive, he said. You both want to protect your people. Then stop standing on opposite sides of the fire. We're either going to burn together or fight back together. Elder Thorin tilted his head, ancient eyes studying Jace. Humans have taken from us before, he said. Stolen relics, laughed at our faith. And the Viraxi, Rhea replied, have attacked human scouts, called us intruders. I don't care who started it, Jace snapped. I care who finishes it. Silence. Then Thorin stepped forward and placed his hand on Jace's shoulder. The crown speaks through you, he said. If you lead us, we will stand beside. The humans, Rhea folded her arms, still cautious but nodded. Then let's prepare for war. The Forge of Unity the next few days felt like fire and lightning. Viraxi stonecraft fused with human steel. Weapons were forged that glowed with ancient energy and fired with human precision. Ships were upgraded, towers reinforced, soldiers trained in both sides' tactics. The First Alliance War Council met under a starlit dome. Jace stood at the center, guiding the plans not as a ruler, but as a bridge. He learned how to speak like a general, even when he still felt like a technician, and slowly, he earned their respect, not because of the crown, but because of his choices. But power came with a price. The change within. Late at night, Jace stood alone in his quarters, shirt off, staring at the glowing lines across his chest. His veins shimmered blue, pulsing like a second heartbeat. He pressed his palm against a mirror. His reflection didn't blink. It stared back with eyes that no longer looked entirely human. The helmet whispered again, more clearly now. You are evolving. You are becoming what they need. But what am I becoming? Jace asked, voice shaking. No answer came, only a low hum of power, and a sense that time was running out. The Message A probe landed just outside the camp, untouched by defenses. It projected a hologram into the air, a tall, sleek figure made of shifting metal, the Hollow Queen. Her voice flowed like oil and poison. You pretend to be a god human, but you are a mistake. Give us the crown, and we will let some of your kind remain cleaned, rewritten, useful. Jace stepped into the projection, staring directly into her shifting face. I'm not giving you anything, he said. Not my people, not this planet, and not one more inch of this sky. The Queen's form flickered, and she smiled, a cold, empty smile. Then you will burn with them. The projection ended. Silence fell over the camp, but not fear. It was focus. Jace turned to the commanders and elders, voice steady. We make our stand here, he said. We hold this ground. And if they want this planet, they'll have to take it from all of us. The army roared, not just human or Viraxi, but one voice, one fight, and above them, in the black of space, the hollow began to descend. Asterisk before the first shot was fired. The sky went silent. Birds vanished, clouds froze, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. It was the kind of quiet that only came before something terrible, something final, from the edge of space. The hollow fleet descended like a black storm. Thousands of ships, shaped like daggers and bones, cut through the clouds below. On the dusty ground of HFY 7, humans and Viraxi stood side by side, shoulder to shoulder. This wasn't just a fight for survival anymore. It was a fight for meaning, for memory, for the right to exist. Jace stood at the front, the helmet glowing like a sun split open. His hands trembled, but not with fear, with power. The first strike, the Hollow Queen didn't speak. She simply acted. Massive energy beams crashed into the desert, turning sand into glass. Human outposts were vaporized in seconds, and Viraxi towers shook under the force. But the Alliance was ready. From hidden bunkers, cannons roared. Viraxi stone launchers hurled glowing shards of energy, and human drones darted through enemy fire like insects in a storm. For every ship the Hollow destroyed, the Alliance took 2 down. But it wasn't enough, not yet. Jace sprinted across the battlefield, shouting commands through the neural link. He wasn't in one place anymore. He was everywhere, seeing the war unfold through hundreds of mind soldiers, pilots, defenders, all connected to him through the crown. The battlefield was alive, and he was its heartbeat. Into the fire a hollow titan touched down near the southern ridge. It stood like a tower, its limbs spinning with blades and black light. Whole squads were wiped out in seconds. Jace didn't wait. He called to his elite unit, half human, half Varaxian, charged. The fight was brutal. Jace leaped onto the Titan's back, using the crown's energy to melt through its armor. The machine roared, spinning wildly, trying to shake him off. He gritted his teeth and drove both hands into its core, unleashing a surge of light. The Titan exploded. Throwing Jace across the battlefield, he crashed into the sand, gasping for air. Smoke rising from his armor, but the soldiers around him cheered. Their chosen one was still standing. The queen arrives, and then the Hollow Queen came. Her ship didn't fly. It drifted down like a falling star, dragging silence with it. Jace looked up and felt a pressure in his skull. Like someone was crushing his thoughts. The crown dimmed for the first time. Flickering under the queen's presence, she stepped out of the ship, tall and smooth, her body flowing like liquid metal. Around her, the battlefield paused. Even the machines stopped firing. "Jace Carter," she said, her voice 1,000 voices. "You carry the last light. Break the crown, and I will end this. You will live, not as a man, but as a memory, safe inside me." Jace stood slowly, his legs shaking. "No," he said. "I'd rather die as myself than live as your pet." She tilted her head, and her face changed his mother's face, then his own. "You don't even know what you are," she whispered. "You're not human anymore." The final push. The sky lit up again. As the final wave began, Jace turned to the remaining Alliance forces, tired, wounded, outnumbered, but still burning with fire. "This is it," he shouted. "We hold the line. Not because we were chosen, but because we chose each other." He charged into the fire again. Behind him, thousands followed. Varaxi war singers screamed ancient battle hymns. Human fighters dropped from the sky like arrows. And for a moment, it looked like the impossible could happen. The sacrifice of Jace reached the queen. Their powers clashed, light and shadow turning the air between them into fire. She was too strong. But the crown had one last secret. Jace looked back at the army, his people, his friends, his world. He smiled sadly. Then he opened the crown fully. All its power surged through him, into the sky, into the land, into every living fighting below. The battlefield exploded with light. The queen screamed as her form cracked, twisted, and shattered into shards. One by one, the hollow ships fell. Their minds gone, their code undone. The war ended in a single breath, but Jace was gone. Aftermath silence returned, but it was different now, peaceful, in the middle of the battlefield where Jace had stood. Only the helmet remained, cold, silent. Waiting, the Varaxi built a temple around it. Humans placed a statue beside it. Jace, smiling, hands open, a symbol of unity, not power. They called him Starburn, not because of the crown, but because he gave them back the sky. They say the stars flickered the night he vanished. Not from science, not from damage, but like they were mourning. Even the sky, it seemed, remembered him. Years had passed since the battle of HFY. The Hollow were gone. The war was over. Humans and Varaxi lived side by side now, building cities together, learning each other's languages, eating at the same tables. But no one ever forgot the one who made that peace possible, Jace Carter, the man who wore the crown, the man who disappeared in a flash of light to save everyone else. Some called him a legend. Some said he had become a god. Others believed he was simply lost. The helmet remains. The crown of stars was placed at the center of a stone garden, guarded by both human marines and Varaxi guardians. No one touched it, not because of rules, but because of respect, because they weren't sure what would happen if someone did. It glowed faintly, just enough to remind them it was still awake, still waiting. A boy with too many questions. One quiet night, under a sky full of silver clouds, a boy came to the temple. He was no one special, just a miner's son, curious, restless, always asking questions his teachers couldn't answer. His name was Kale. He didn't come with permission, he just felt pulled there, like the wind itself had whispered his name. Kale stood before the helmet, breathing slow, his fingers twitching. He wasn't planning to touch it. He only wanted to look, to see what kind of man could leave behind something so powerful. But the moment he stepped closer, the ground hummed, a low sound like a heartbeat. Deep under the stone, the helmet lit up brighter than it had in years, and then it spoke. "The return, Kale," it said. Not through speakers, but inside his thoughts. The boy froze. "Who's there?" he whispered. "You know who I am," the voice replied, calm and warm. It was Jace, but not the same. He sounded older, quieter, like someone who had traveled far, very far. "Are you alive?" Kale asked, eyes wide. There was a long pause. "In a way," the voice said. "I became part of something else, something bigger. I burned through the stars to stop the hollow. But I left a part of myself behind." "Why me?" Kale asked. "Not anyone. You're curious," the voice said. "You ask why, when others stop at how. You're not meant to fight like I did. You're meant to build something better." The helmet glowed once more, pulsing gently, and then a piece of it opened, revealing a small shard of light, floating like a seed. "Take it," the voice said. "Not because you're chosen, but because you choose to." Kale reached out and took the shard. It didn't burn. It felt like a memory worm. Familiar, alive, legends and echoes by morning. The shard was gone, absorbed into Kale's skin. The helmet went dark again, returning to silence. But the boy was different. He spoke in dreams, saw distant places, solved things others couldn't. He didn't become a warrior. He became a builder, an inventor, a listener. He helped shape the new world Jace had died to protect. The legend of the Starburn didn't end on a battlefield. It lived on in the minds of those who still believed in courage, in choice, in standing up even when no one else would, and sometimes, late at night, under the same flickering stars. People swore they could still hear the crown humming, waiting, watching, final whispering the black of space beyond maps and engines. A ripple moved through the void, not a ship, not a weapon, but a signal faint, patient, ancient somewhere. Far away, the hollow were not dead, only sleeping, and the crown of stars remained, still waiting for the next whisper, the next hand, the next human brave or foolish enough to put it on. Because stories don't end, they echo, and legends, no matter how long they sleep, always find a way to wake up.